Hi, hope everybody's doing great. I just want to tell you a quick, funny story. It's an educational story, but it's a quick, funny one that happened to me many, many years ago when I was a teenager. So just by the way, my name is Kelvin Chin. I'm a meditation teacher. I help people with afterlife issues. If you're interested in self-development, overcoming the fear of death, um, improving relationships, please subscribe to my YouTube channel here. So as I said, I was a teenager, and this is what I call my train story. So those of you who have maybe taken my meditation class have probably heard this story. But whether you've taken my meditation class or taken another meditation class, this will be helpful for you. The thing is, you can meditate anywhere. You can meditate in a noisy place, quiet place, public place, private place. It should not matter. If you're taught properly how to meditate, then you should be able to meditate anywhere. Anywhere you can think, literally, you should be able to meditate there. And this story that I'm going to tell you happened to me, as I said, as a teenager. I learned to meditate when I was 19 years old, and I had just learned to meditate maybe 4 months before this happened. And I was in Europe. I was on a foreign study program. I was a French major. I was studying in France, going to study in France. But a couple of my buddies of mine said, hey, let's meet up and travel a little bit for a week or two before the semester starts. And we hopped on the Icelandic Airlines. Those of you who remember back in those days, this is in the early 1970s, that was the least expensive airline to get across the Atlantic. So we flew over to Luxembourg and took a train over to Paris, and we visited some friends of one of my friends, had some family friends there. We saw Paris, and we said, where do we want to go next? And they said, let's go down to Rome. My friends that I was traveling with, a couple of my buddies from college, they'd already been to France before. They'd already been to Europe before. I grew up in a working class, a middle class family outside Boston. And that was the first time I'd ever gotten on a jet airplane. It was to go to Europe to study. So I said, okay, let's go down to Rome, Italy. And we hopped on a train. So that's why I call this my train story, okay? Remember, I'd only been meditating for a few months at this point. I was a new meditator. And we got on one of those trains, you know, like in Harry Potter, the movies, where you're sitting in a train that has a compartment. They have a whole bunch of compartments, and there's two bench seats sitting across from each other. And you're basically in your own little, I don't know, 8-foot by 8-foot room, you know, like a 2.5, 3-meter room, with other people, and there's a hallway outside. It was one of those kind of trains. So we're sitting there, and here's who's sitting there, and this is material important to the story. Here's who's sitting there with us. So I'm sitting on one bench seat, across from my two college buddies. They're across from me. Sitting next to them is this, remember, we're 19 years old. She seemed like an elderly French woman. She was probably 30 years old at the time. Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize to all of you who are 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 years old watching this now, but you remember, those of you who are teenagers watching this, you know what I mean. When you're a teenager, somebody who's 30 years old is ancient to you. Look, somebody who's a senior when you're a freshman, like we were, you know, that they're ancient to you. Forget about somebody who's in graduate school, never mind somebody who's 10 or 15 years older than you are. Now, it's like 10 or 15 years my age now. It's like they're my peers. But she's sitting there, and she's very nicely dressed. I guess back then people would dress up and they traveled. I mean, we were hippies, you know. I had long, imagine me, my hair was down to here. We all had long hair. My hair was parted in the middle. You know, we had our fry boots on and our knapsacks, and, you know, that's what we were traveling with basically. And blue jeans, you know, patched blue jeans. I remember I had my patched blue jeans. When the blue jeans would wear out, you didn't buy blue jeans like you do today that already are torn and ripped. You bought new blue jeans back then, and then when they get torn and ripped, you put your own patches on it. So my mom taught me, and I had these really cool patched blue jeans. Anyway, bell bottom blue jeans, fry boots, cowboy boots, and fry boots. And this woman sitting there next to them. Next to me are two drunk guys. Now they didn't start out drunk. They were very nice guys. They were going back to like Czechoslovakia, one of the formerly Soviet Union countries that was very, very poor. It wasn't a country, it was part of the Soviet Union, but very, very poor. And so what these guys would do, they explained this to us in French. What these Slavic guys would do is leave their families for 5, 6, 7 years in their home countries. Yugoslavia, what's now Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, whatever. And they would go and work in the car factories outside Paris, France, and make a ton of money, like 10, 15, 20 times as much money as they could in their little villages back in the Soviet Union. So they traveled to Paris. They were living in these little apartments, 6, 8 guys crammed into an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment to save money. And they'd collect from the same, they'd all kind of collect together, gather together from the same villages and save up a ton of money. Now they were going back home with lots of cash in their knapsacks, which they probably shouldn't have told us, but we were honest guys. And they're very sweet guys. They were probably in their, early mid-30s, much older than we were. And they were going back to see their girlfriends and their families and their kids. So they were in party mode. So that's why they were drunk the whole time. They brought these knapsacks full of, they had bottles and bottles of wine. Now, those of you who don't know, the train ride from Paris to Rome is a very long train ride. For us, it turned out to be a 21-hour train ride because our locomotive broke down along the way somewhere, I don't know where, in France or Switzerland or someplace. That's a whole other story. But it was a long train ride, so I had to many times meditate. About every 5 hours, I would meditate. And if you were in my mind, reading my mind, this is what you would have heard, my mind thinking, all right? I close my eyes, sit comfortably, close my eyes. Those taking my meditation class, you know what I mean. Just sit comfortably, position does not matter. Close the eyes, wait a few seconds just so I'm not rushing in. And then I start the technique. But as soon as I close my eyes, what would I be thinking? If you were reading my mind, this is what you would heard me thinking. Oh, my nose is burning. Oh my God, because these guys are like chain smoking cigarettes, chain smoking cigarettes in this little enclosed compartment. Oh, my nose is burning. Oh, I wish these guys would shut up. And then, they're right next to me. There's 2 guys. And now they've lost spatial awareness because after a few hours of chatting with them, they're very nice guys. They started drinking. Now they're kind of drunk, so they don't have spatial awareness. They're bumping into me. Oh, geez, he bumped into me again. This is what I'm thinking during my meditation. Oh, that's right. I'm supposed to go back to this sound and go back to the technique and blah, blah, blah. So I'm going back to the technique of meditation. The guy's bumping into me. They're just waving their arms around. They're really loud now. They're getting louder and louder. Each time I meditated, it got louder because they got drunker and drunker during this 21-hour train ride. And of course, they left us probably about 15, 16 hours into the train ride. And then we continued down the Rome and they got on a different train. But, this was my meditation 2 or 3 times during the trip. I was just complaining. My point in terms of describing and telling you this train story is that my mind was just off thinking and complaining, quite frankly, having negative thoughts about these 2 guys next to me. Oh, I wish they'd shut up. I wish, oh, geez, they bumped into me again. Oh, my nose is burning. I wish they'd stop smoking, And then I come back to the technique. And then later in the meditation process, I don't know, it was the first or second or third meditation, I start complaining in my meditations that in my mind to myself, that nothing is happening. Oh, I feel like nothing is happening. I feel like I'm just sitting here with my eyes closed. Oh, nothing's going on. Oh, I don't feel relaxed. I don't feel like I've gone anywhere. I don't feel settled down. Oh, that's right. I'm off the sound. I'm off the technique. Oh, go back to the technique. I go back to the technique, gently, comfortably go back to the technique. I was very mechanical about the technique. And then, as you guys know, who've taken my class, you know, I always, and if you haven't taken my class, you've been doing some other form of meditation, always, you should do a rest period at the end of your meditation. After you stop the technique, you should rest for 5, 10, 15 minutes. So if your teacher has not told you that, this teacher is now telling you that. You should always rest. It makes your benefits last longer. It's a very, very important part of the meditation teaching. So I thought in my mind, 19 years old, I'm thinking in my 19-year-old mind, oh, this is a waste of time. I don't feel like, why do I even need to take a rest period? Oh, they said, I'll take a rest period. Okay, I was told to take a rest period a few months ago when I took the meditation class. Okay, fine. I took my rest period. And I remember it like it was yesterday. This is so fresh, so clear in my memory that I must have been looking down. Like some of you have meditated before, you know, sometimes in meditation, you're unaware of body and surroundings. And little did I know that I had become unaware of my body. I was very aware of my surroundings, but unaware of my body because my head must have been down. Because when I opened my eyes up after I took the rest period, after my meditation technique part, I remember seeing the bench seat and the material of the bench seat that was covering the, you know, the cushion and so forth, the blues and the reds and the beige and the crimson colors all woven together to make whatever the pattern was. And I remember, wow, I could see so clearly. My visual acuity was so amazing. And I lifted my head up and I was looking at my college couple of buddies. Remember, we got long hair and we're sitting there, the three hippies in the train car. And I'm looking at my buddies and my buddy David Allen, he goes, what are you looking at? I'm staring at his blonde curly hair down here. And I said, oh, sorry, I was just spacing out. And I just felt like I had taken a nap for like an hour. Meanwhile, what I'd actually done, if you had asked me like, hey, Kelvin, so how was your meditation? You just meditated. I would have said, it was terrible. I felt like nothing happened. I felt like I was just whining and complaining the whole time about that, you know, these guys. And then about my meditation, eventually later, just complaining and whining and complaining. And I felt like I didn't relax or anything, but now I feel amazing. How did that happen? That's my train story. So what's the takeaway from that? Do not judge. Do not judge during your meditation. Things still could be happening during your meditation. And I know because I was a test subject when I was 19 years old. This was about 6 months later. I was a test subject in the very first medical studies ever done in the United States by this Harvard Medical School professor, Herb Benson, who's a cardiologist. And of course, he was interested in the cardiological benefits, but he did all kinds of other experiments, and they did blood samples, and he took blood samples from people and so forth and so on. So I know what the technique, I later became educated as far as what the technique that I teach does after, like 6 months later, this experience in the train. But in the train story, I just followed the instructions mechanically. I didn't listen. I didn't listen to what my mind was telling me, which is what it was saying was it was a waste of time. Obviously it wasn't. So that's my train story. I hope that helps people. Take that from what, any aspect of that may help you in any way in your own meditation practice. If you're interested in learning meditation, get in touch with me. Just go to kelvinchin.org or turningwithin.org. That's my meditation website, either one. As I said, I help people with meditation, afterlife issues, fears about death and dying, or any kinds of fears or anxieties and so forth, helping people live their life more fully. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you found this interesting. And I hope you have a great day and be well. And we'll talk to you again soon here on YouTube.